and welcome to Ted Lasso post-match, where we discuss... No, I'm going to start that again.
Yeah.
That was bad. I've gone completely blank.
You got
Okay.
shy. You've gone shy.
I've gone shy.
Maybe I'll just keep all this in, and that this is our intro.
Right. Hello, and welcome to Ted Lasso post-match, the officially unofficial Ted Lasso podcast, where I'm Vinny, and I'm joined by my good friend Aidan from the other side of the world.
Good day.
And we discuss each episode of Ted Lasso as it's released. And we've had a new episode this week, so we're back for a new episode of the podcast. Bang
in. That's episode 306, titled Sunflowers, written by Coach Beard himself, Brendan Hunt, which is great. And it's there's a lot of like Coach Beardy humor in this. I think Brendan Hunt's like a really funny dude.
I agree.
Dude. And yes, as always, at the end of the episode, we will give you a most valuable player, the MVP of the episode. I was about to say game then. Well, this isn't a game. Is this a game to you, Vinny?
So the MVP is the character that we think has sort of done the most in the episode or done the most for the episode. Anything like that.
Yeah. That's a good explanation, Vinny. This is why you're here. I don't know what that sentence was. It's been a long day. Okay, all right. So yeah, we're gonna rattle through the episode. Again, like last week, we're gonna sort of segregate it into each character and just sort of talk about each character, rather than jumping backwards and forwards throughout the episodes. Because this episode is 1 hour and 6 minutes long. That's a long bloody episode.
It's a long one.
So
there's a lot happened in this episode as well.
It's good because it's.
But I will say, no, you go.
Okay, I was just going to say it's good because I feel like some of the episodes this season have been really busy and they've done a lot of things in like 50, 55 minutes, but I've not felt like they've kind of gelled as a nice, coherent episode. Whereas this episode, this is the best one. This is the best one of the season.
That is basically what I was going to say. I was going to say, although there's a lot going on in this episode, there's a lot of different stories, a lot of different characters that we're following. I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel bored. I was fully engaged throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
I loved pretty much everything. It was great. It was a great hour of TV.
Yeah. And it didn't even feel like an hour. How good is that?
No, it didn't.
Yeah. So a bit of context for the episode. Richmond's losing streak continues. Ted still seems relatively unfazed by it all, which is, I guess, in contrast to the rest of the Greyhounds that are just sort of miserable and kind of fed up. They're in Amsterdam after playing a friendly, which they have a debate about the title of friendly. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea of the episode. Quickly leaves to go off on a date with Jack, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And then we do get a great
no really Keeley in this episode at all.
No, this is a Keeley light episode,
which I reckon means that we're gonna have a lot of Keeley
heavy episode next week.
Yeah,
we have a great sort of bit from Roy where he's doing a post-match interview and I don't know, they ask him about the losing streak or something and Roy's like, it doesn't matter, this is not a real match. This is not a real conversation.
Match. Yeah.
You're not a real person. Like it's so good.
I love
so
that. Yeah. I love that. That was typical Roy Kent and it was just brilliant.
It is. He's got some good bloody lines. Just everything about Roy is hilarious in this episode and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yes. Agreed.
After the episode, Ted encourages the group to let off some steam. No curfew, everybody, he declares, which is I guess the kind of setup for the episode.
Yeah, but it is definitely a questionable tactic from the head coach.
Why is that? Elaborate.
Just, I think, he's got this routine with the boys. He's got the curfews. He's got everything like that. The fact that he just decides to throw caution to the wind with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not even... Yeah, and they're not even celebrating. Like, they lost badly.
Yeah.
Yet he just lets them go off in a foreign European city
Yeah.
and just do what they want.
But hey, it does wonders for them throughout the episode.
Yes.
So it was a questionable
decision. It could have gone badly. Yeah.
It could have. They all could have got extremely, extremely high on Amsterdam weirdness. And yeah, that would also have been a very funny episode. But this episode, for me, the through line was sort of about, okay, at first when I was watching it, I was like, okay, lots of different plot lines. What's sort of connecting them? And at first I was like, oh, it's sort of about making decisions and taking action. Finally, a lot of these characters were stuck trying to make decisions, whether it's figuring out where to go for dinner, where to go for the night.
Yeah.
But then I sort of started to realize that it was a little bit more about like figuring out what each of these characters need. So, for instance, you've got Rebecca figuring out that she doesn't need like a Rupert business savvy person. She needs someone that can make her relax, and that will do wonders for her. You know, Ted sort of realizing that he maybe, at least this is how I took it, that he kind of needs a bit of a taste from home, like a literal taste from home, to sort of reset, because it's clear that he's missing his son and things like that. Each character sort of figures something out about themselves throughout this episode. You know, even Colin, we'll get to it, but Colin's whole thing of realizing that he needs his two separate lives to combine. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Any comments on my big universe brain moment?
No, I think it's pretty spot on. Like we've established already, like there's a lot going on in this episode, but yeah, there is this sort of underlying theme throughout that I think maybe everyone just has to sort of stop almost trying to be something they're not.
Yeah. That's a good
like
way of looking at
it. With Rebecca's story, she, stops being this cold-hearted businesswoman. She doesn't have to be in that scenario that she's in this episode.
Yeah. I think that's
like Colin doesn't have to try and fit in with all the football lads. He wants to go do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And like, Roy and Jamie's whole story in this episode, and like Ted's, I don't know, like it's just, I think it's a lot of like people being true to themselves in this episode.
Absolutely. I think that's a good way of looking at it. And I think that's a classic Ted Lasso thing, right? It's a very so spiritual XX kind of show, you know what I mean? So okay, let's start with Rebecca, I guess. She ends up on a boat after being knocked off a bike in Amsterdam. Have you been to Amsterdam?
Which I thought was hilarious. I haven't.
Right, I have. And lots of bikes. I can confirm.
I mean, it's quite almost annoying that you've been and you live the other side of the world, and it's quite easy for me to go, and I haven't been.
I'm mad that you've not been, because I would do anything to just like pop over yearly to Amsterdam. I think it's great there.
Oh yeah,
I rode a bike.
People go just for like weekends here. It's just so easy.
I would. So Rebecca,
I have heard that there's a lot of bikes and there's a lot of canals.
Lots of bikes, lots of canals, lots of jug, lots of tea, special tea. Can confirm.
Yeah.
Rebecca, she cops a bike to the body, I guess, and lands in the water, which is great. And she's rescued by a mysterious Dutch man, and he rescues her into his boat, I guess. Now, question for you, Vinny. Did you get major Joachim and Jean vibes from Sex Education from this? Yes? It's like, kind of middle-aged or mature age, like blonde lady, quite strong, quite like knowing of herself. And then you've got the yin to the yang, with Joachim being like a
relaxed bloke. European, just chilling, getting on with life.
And I think like the set designs are almost kind of similar as well, like this kind of very woody house, like colorful.
Yeah, which I love Sex Education, but I specifically love I love Jean because I love Gillian Anderson, but I love the whole story of her and Yakov, and it explains to me why, because I had those same thoughts during this episode, like similarities, and that explains why I really enjoyed Rebecca's storyline in this episode.
Yeah,
it was just what I like about Jean and Yakov in Sex Education is that she is very like strong like independent woman,
Mm-hmm.
and then this very relaxed man who doesn't really fit her ideals comes in and really like makes her question things, makes her question what she wants and how she sees life and everything like that, and
Yeah.
makes her a bit more carefree. And I really enjoyed seeing Rebecca in that scenario
Yeah. Just having
and with a
fun.
guy like that. Yeah,
Yeah. It's exactly what she needs.
100%. But
He's
yeah,
the yin to her yang. We'll have to go over this very quickly, but I sit in a field where I'm like, they're never going to end up together. We're probably not going to see this character again. But
no, yeah,
do you think it's a thing where it's like he is kind of, this experience for her has now made her aware of what she needs in life?
potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had that thought earlier in the episode about Keeley, actually.
Right.
Because just to, obviously Keeley's not in this episode, but aside from the beginning, but obviously Keeley goes off with Jack,
Mm-hmm.
and then Roy is like, where's she going? And Rebecca's like, someone that wants her or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that, you know, Jack is helping Keeley recover, get over Roy, everything like that. Like that, Keeley's relationship with Jack is achieving that in like getting Keeley past it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this interaction for Rebecca is helping her get past, like, you know, all the bitterness towards Rupert and all the bitterness towards just life in general. Like, obviously, Richmond have been on a bit of a losing streak. She's not particularly happy. She's in Amsterdam by herself, doesn't know what she's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, this scenario, she literally lands on it almost.
Yeah, she falls into it.
Yeah. And I think that this is really going to help push Rebecca's character forward in the same way that Jack is going to push Keeley's character forward.
Yeah. No, I agree. She's definitely figuring out that she needs to relax a little bit. I think in this episode, a bloody great gag is Leslie, our boy Higgins, taking old mate Kitman Will out on a venture. And I love how, like, the first half of the episode, you don't know what they're up to, and he's just like, yes, we're going to the red light district. And it's like, Higgins, do you know what the red light district is, my man?
Well, I think,
how's your marriage?
You know,
it's good.
Yeah, I did think, obviously he's not going for what everyone thinks he is, because we've established throughout the show that Higgins has a very good home life with his sons and with his wife. And I was like, they're not gonna just switch that on its head. But I was intrigued as to where they were going.
Yeah.
But I knew that they wouldn't be doing what they're hinting at. But I'm like, well, what is it then?
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy that Higgins storyline. I thought it made me proper smile.
Mm-hmm. Plot twist, it was a jazz club, which is very Higgins. And it does lead up to a great montage at the end, like him doing the music for in the montage.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But it also is great. I think Higgins leads by example in the show, by him sort of, he knows what he wants, and he's, whilst everyone else is tossing up what they're going to do with the night and their lives, he's the one that's like, I just want to go to a jazz club and it's going to loosen me up, blow off some steam. And he like leads by example. And I think jazz is a great choice as well, because I mean, you're a muso, Vinny. Jazz is like a very like fluid type of music, right? It's like, I've seen La La Land, and in La La Land, they're like, jazz, it's all about like instruments competing with each other, but you like feel it in each other's bones and its rhythm. And that's so I thought, I thought jazz was a great music genre for this.
Yeah. Jazz is very, there's no real structure to jazz.
Yeah.
You just sort of go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very relaxing as well.
To this episode, it's it's getting rid of routines and things. So we've hinted out that the boys are stuck sort of figuring out where they want to go. Colin sneaks out. So they're tossing things up in the air. Some of the boys want to go to the red light district and see a sex show. Which, by the way, I have been to a sex show, and I want to say it's not fun. It's just fucking weird. Like it is
Yeah.
just when they were like debating it, I was like, don't go. I don't want PTSD. I don't. um, Danny
I
being
can't
like,
imagine that would be enjoyable. So
it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it'll be a laugh, and then you watch it, and it's just like people in leather jackets,
uncomfortable.
straight facing, with like speed dealers on, to heavy metal screamo music. I'm getting transported back, and I don't like that. This so so this whole scene has like so much funny stuff. Like Danny being like, he wants to go see a tulip. You mean the tulip fields? And he's like,
Yeah.
no, I couldn't cope. I just need to see a
Yeah.
tulip.
He's like, a whole field? That's too much.
Too much. Too much. I love when the people working at the hotel are like, what's your name? And this guy, he's like, they call me Van Damme. And everyone's like, oh, wow. And of course,
Yeah.
he's the one desperate to go see a sex show. Like this, we're now getting like this whole sexual side of Van Damme, right? Where
Mhm.
he's bloody, like an episode or two ago, he did his Fanta, is it Fanta? No, Banter, his Banter ad, where
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I want short walks on the beach so that we can spend more time doing other things. Van
Yeah.
Damme, very sexual being. That's the storyline of the season. Um,
Yeah.
and Isaac's kind of leading it as a good captain. He's sort of getting them like trying to make things
Yeah.
happen, but letting them kind of make the decision. I kind of appreciated that. Um, and they end up doing, is it a pillow fight they do at the end?
Yeah.
I thought that kind of came
Which
out of
I
nowhere.
liked.
It was cute,
No, I
but
liked it. I think with the whole, what are we gonna do? I was with Sam. I was like, just stay in and watch a film.
yeah, right.
And they did stay in and they had, a pillow fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
to be
good
honest,
team bonding.
going out with Colin's the real winner of this night. He looks like he had a good time. He got to go to a
Yeah.
club briefly. And did he go back to the club at the end, or did he
Yeah,
just...
yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
went
I
back with
reckon
Trent.
he's the winner. Him and Trent had a good night. Yeah, they were like dancing around and stuff at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the winners, mate, I think. So yeah, let's talk about Colin then, right? Because this is his sort of
Yeah.
big properly
This
coming
is
out
like,
episode.
yeah, this is sort of what links back to a few episodes ago when we last had sort of a Colin-centered storyline in an episode. It was a couple episodes ago now, so I've been waiting for them to like bring it back up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Trent, we sort of get proper confirmation that Trent is gay. And
Yeah.
seeing their relationship sort of bond as Trent, someone who's been through the motions of that before, coming out and those difficult conversations. And I also appreciate that he's like, but my experience is so different to yours. You know, you're in a masculine environment. Like that stuff's got to be tough. And that whole scene when I like how they called it back to Sharon. Is it Sharon? Yeah, Sharon.
The doctor, yeah.
Yeah, I like how they called it back to her, and he was like, yeah, she sort of made me realize that I have an ache for my two lives to connect.
Yeah.
I'd be interested.
Yeah.
There's a montage in season 2 where Ted sees a lot of people leaving Sharon's office. I'm interested to see if one of them was Colin.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, it's a very thought out show.
Clever.
When obviously Colin snuck off, Trent follows him, and I was like, oh, this is Trent's like journalistic instinct like kicking in, like he wants to know where Colin's going. And then obviously like he goes up, Trent doesn't just watch him, like, he follows him, and then he goes up to him and he's like, I know. And they have like that nice chat where they share experiences, they talk openly about it. And I just really enjoyed that. And it really, I think this season, obviously Trent being a reporter, like Roy hates him. And, like, it's hard because he reported negatively on Ted because he's a reporter, but he likes Ted.
Yeah.
But I think this season's doing a good job at, like, really giving Trent like, more backstory, like making him like an actual like fleshed out character that you can really like or dislike, depending on, how you feel about him. But like, I really like Trent. I've liked him since like series 1.
Yeah,
And I'm just so glad
100%.
we're getting to see a little bit more of him. Yeah.
I think episode 3 is called Trent Krim the Independent from season 1.
Yeah.
And I remember that's sort of the one main episode in the first 2 seasons where you get to spend a decent amount of time with him from memory.
Yeah.
And I always remember that being like a GOAT episode. Like, I loved seeing him in that episode.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a great character.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that they've sort of fleshed him out that little bit more.
Yeah.
But it makes a massive difference. And we've seen, like, in this episode, him and Colin have had a really good like bonding experience, which you would never expect from series 1.
No.
Like, they've had this really good sort of bonding experience. Then you see, like, later on they're in the club. Colin gets Trent to try vanilla vodka and he hates it. And I just loved it. And then they sat on the bus near each other. And yeah. And it's nice. I feel like that's like they've got a good friendship there now.
Yeah, an unlikely duo that just makes the perfect duo in the end, I think. A great line from Colin. He says he doesn't want to be a spokesperson. He doesn't want apologies. He just wants to kiss his fella just as the guys kiss their girls. And I just thought that was a great thing. Like, he's not there to make a big social movement. He's just there. He just wants to live like the same life as these boys, but in the way that he wants to,
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think, it sends a good message about, society at the moment anyway. And, we've touched on it before a couple episodes ago, but the fact that, like, being gay in football is not a common thing. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I think there's there's 1 or 2 currently playing footballers in the UK that are out as gay, and that's it. Yeah, and I think that this is like, it's really touching on those issues in like that whole sort of football masculinity world. And I think that this, it's a hard thing to target and touch on correctly, but I think that they're doing it really, really well.
They're doing an incredible job. I think that scene on the dock for me was sort of part of the heart of this episode. But my favorite kind of storyline throughout the episode, Roy and Jamie. Like, come on, what a delight! Like, Roy forcing Jamie to go to training instead of going on a nights out. I think Jamie's reaction to that kind of showed his progression as a character, because I feel like usually he'd be like, oh, fuck that or whatever. And even though he was reluctant, he still went for it, and he quickly caught on to the fact that Roy was just taking out anger that he had built up in him, and taking it out on Jamie. So I feel like throughout the episode, is Jamie just trying to get Roy to open up, and that's his goal in the episode. And
I think that, from the get-go, when Roy's like, no, you're not going out, you've got to do training.
Yep.
And Jamie does it. He listens to Roy and he does it. And I just think that really shows Jamie's progression as a character.
Definitely.
And also shows, I think, how Jamie might be the one to like save the day or something like that later on, because he's putting in the graft to become the best player on the team.
Yep.
He's training whilst all the others are, planning on going out. And I think that, it's just so nice, because it, like, series 1, Jamie would just leave after training. He would just like, he'd be the first one out the door. And now he's like actively doing extra training to really become the best version of himself. And I just love that.
I think a good word is he's really learned commitment. Like, commitment to his training and to the club, and also possibly, I'm not saying him and Keely are going to end up together, but in his love life, we've seen that he is, he's still into her. Well, at least is what they said at the end of last season. And you kind of get the vibes. They had a brief conversation at the start of this season that kind of, you could tell that maybe he was crushing on her a little bit. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's like also his commitment to Roy as a friend. He's now there looking after Roy in this moment, and he's not trying to swoop
Yeah.
in and things like that. So this whole episode, he's just trying to, I think, be a good bloke to Roy, including
He's become very selfless.
yeah, that's a good and I think that's a good Richmond thing as well, because he's
Yeah.
he was getting mad at Zava for being selfish, taking some goals that
Yeah.
like Jamie was kicking a goal and Zava, there's like a slow-mo shot of his foot just tapping it, and he literally was already going in, but he gets the touch, so he gets the official goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think it's a big change from Jamie from series 1. And
Huge.
I'm all here for it. I love it.
I love good Jamie. Good Jamie teaches Roy how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
After they get a homeless man to steal them.
The highlight. Yep.
The montage. We got to talk about the montage where he's properly showing him, and it starts on like a shot. It's kind of like a medium shot of them and holding him on the bike, and they just fall out of frame. Which I thought was funny, and I was like, oh, they've obviously just fallen onto a map behind the scenes. But then there's like a shot, and it would have been with stunt doubles because you could see from the back of them. But then they do a shot where you watch it fall to its side, just like a full shot. You can see him hit the floor and everything, and it's so funny.
It is. That was like a real highlight for me of this episode. Of
the whole show.
I like just seeing Jamie and Roy bond and have fun on bikes, and like Jamie is teaching Roy, which is like almost his way of giving back to Roy.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely.
These guys are in their own fucking episode.
Yeah, I could have watched a whole episode of that.
Yeah, I could. So they bond closer. Eventually, Jamie, I think, he leads opening up about his dad and that whole experience and everything in Amsterdam. And I think he sort of does that as a way to get Roy to open up, because he knows he just needs to get Roy to open up slightly and get something off his chest. And I think they did it so well in terms of Roy not going all out and having a big emotion thing. He just says like a 6-line sentence or whatever it is, like a 6-word sentence. He says, I think Keely has a girlfriend. And that's all he needs to say, and that's him just getting it off his chest, and they both understand where they're at. I just thought it was incredible. Jamie and Roy are lovers, confirmed. That's my what I got from this episode, especially at the end when they return on the bike. And are they on the same bike?
Yeah, they are.
These guys, man.
I love that.
Gay in Ted Lasso season 3, and I'm here for it with these guys. Do you have any last things to touch on with them?
No, I don't think so. I just really loved their whole story. I really liked the scene where, they're all getting on the coach at the end, and then they're like, oh, we're 2 missing. And I was like, who? And then obviously they turn up, and then I was like, oh, of course.
The lovers are
here.
And
they're both so and like Roy's like, oh, shut up, let's go. Yeah. And Jamie's like, hey. And I just love it.
It's good.
The opposing personalities just work.
Yeah. They're a good dynamic. This episode, Ted, he's still sort of struggling to make decisions and make movements in his life. So I think there's a whole thing where he can't really figure out where to go, and he's kind of fixated on going to this American diner. He does eventually go see the sunflowers, and there's a nice quote that the bloke that's there gives him. I can't quite remember what it is. I usually write this stuff down. But
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I really enjoyed the whole scene in the museum, looking at like Van Gogh and everything like that.
I think it was like, if you really love something, you have to try, or something similar to that.
Yeah,
and I think that was like a kick up the bum for him, where it's like, I've actually not been trying lately.
Yeah, definitely. And he's not been trying, and we've picked up on that this season. He's like sort of lackluster, like he's not really bothered. He's just plodding along. And I think that this episode, he goes to the diner, he suddenly goes into this weird headspace where he has this voice talking to him. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like an experience.
The hot sauce was a drug. Anything in Amsterdam, man.
But when he's sat at the table, it's black around him, and he's got this voice talking to him, and he's sort of seeing shapes and numbers and everything like that.
Yeah.
And after that, when he got a pen and he started writing everything down, I felt like so warm inside.
Yeah.
Because we've not seen that side of Ted in ages.
No.
It has been so long. And the fact that, you know, he got this little spark and that's it. He was writing down all his notes.
He's got the sauce bottles.
Yeah, and like they were closing at that point and they were like, he's still in. They were like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like planning out attacks and formations and stuff. And even when it cuts to the end scene on the coach, he's right at the back, still writing notes down. And it was just so nice to finally see that again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a whole great scene. That whole sort of animated, cartoonish sequence was so funny when it
I loved that.
Light on his face. That's so good. And I also wanted to pick up, and this is like a little bit of a stupid thing, but Ted Lasso, I've picked up on this a number of times. They talk about triangles so fucking much. And like they ever talk about triangles, they talk about pyramids. And there's like a moment right before Ted had his panic attack at the end of last week's episode, and he's looking at is it the Pyramid of Success or something they have on the wall? And he's looking at that, and then he sits down and he gets like the pyramid of onion rings or something for dinner, and he looks at that and he's like, "You're just a big triangle." And then triangle is the fucking answer to all of his problems, or it's gonna be the answer to all of his problems at least. So,
well, hopefully.
I'm just saying they planned this shit out. Okay, I've been talking about triangles for seasons, man. Seasons.
No, that's true. Never thought of that. That's why I fucking love this show.
They're so fucking clever.
It's so good. It's so thought out.
Yeah, it's really well thought out. We're getting a couple more hints that Ted, whether it's a comfort thing or whether he does have feelings, he does message Rebecca twice, and he's a bit pushy about it. But maybe we'll get onto that when we know where that's going a little bit more.
I mean, he doesn't. He mentions at the end. He's like, you've ignored like 12 texts or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, not that he's counting.
Yeah, and I liked that. I don't know if they're hinting towards Ted and Rebecca. I don't know.
I think they are.
Obviously, I thought like, Rebecca falling into the canal, this guy saving her, knight in shining armor. And then I thought, oh no, maybe this guy's dodgy. Ted's gonna save her from him, knight in shining armor. And then he obviously had a daughter, so then I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
I know. They're fucking with us, Vinny.
Yeah. Obviously, like Rebecca says, like you said earlier, we're not going to see that Dutch man again. And Rebecca says, like, Rebecca's said that. She's like, oh, I won't forget you. She's had a really nice time. But Ted Lasso being Ted Lasso, I'm like, what if we do see him again? I won't be surprised. Either way. They are definitely hinting towards something like with Ted and Rebecca, especially with him, having the night off in Amsterdam, wanting to spend it with her. Obviously, she loses her phone. She has this great experience by herself. And then like Beard obviously has his own experience, which we've not even talked about yet.
We need that as an episode. I know we've had the Beard episode, the Beard adventure episode before, but I need Beard somehow transforming from a costume which I already thought was fucking funny, like just when he had the face mask or the black head mask on or whatever, and then like just looking standard Beard going out clothes, but then coming back as fucking Piggy Stardust is ridiculous.
Yeah. I want a bit. I wrote that down as well. I was like, I want a Beard episode about this.
Bring it on.
But yeah, like obviously Ted is, left. He wants to spend it with Rebecca. Doesn't hear from Rebecca, but Ted obviously then goes through his own experience, which I think is benefiting him. So, like you said, it might be a comfort thing. Ted doesn't want to be by himself. Wants to spend time with Rebecca, but I think that if Ted had spent the evening with Rebecca, he wouldn't have come up you know, with
neither of them would have
these
moved forward.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think that might be something that they might carry on more with, because
Definitely.
they are hinting towards Ted and Rebecca,
Ted
but
Becker.
maybe they're hinting at it, the fact that, well, if that did happen, then it wouldn't be good for either of them. I don't know.
Good twist.
I don't know.
We
It
shall
just
see.
seems too obvious
Mhm. Yeah, I
for Ted
know.
Lasso.
I know. They're gonna do something clever. I know it.
Exactly.
Back on the bus, it's we've kind of covered most of the stuff. They end up singing "Don't Worry About a Thing." I'm glad
Bad
we're getting more
thing.
Hannah Waddingham singing because she's got a
Yeah.
fucking excellent voice.
I also really enjoyed Coach Beard singing in character as David
Yes,
Bowie.
yeah, you'd love that as a Bowie fan, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then just the last like two shots. There's the last shot where they come out down the bus, and you can see that everyone is lifted. Their spirits have been lifted.
Yeah.
Everyone's come a long
Which is
way
what
in
we've
this episode.
needed.
Just what they
Yes.
needed. And then the last shot is just a fantastic. They always seem to do this with the special episodes where they'll have, instead of that going to black for the credits, they do the credits over. Like the Christmas episode, they did the same thing. They did the credits over the final shot of the
Yeah.
episode, and like just it zooms out and like drones up into the sky or whatever. I just thought that was a fantastic way to end the episode. And speaking of ending episodes, the final thing we do here, Vinny, is crown an MVP, and I think this is a tough one. Who will you crown as the MVP for today's episode?
Don't you go first, because all I wrote down is that there's too many MVPs.
Well, my MVP is so bullshit. I said everyone, but then I clarified and I said everyone who helped people figure out what they need. So whilst everyone comes out sort of winning, there's like Jamie is the MVP to him and Roy dynamic, because he was sort of who was helping Roy finally open up. Trent was sort of helping Colin finally open up. The bloody Tabasco sauce or whatever that helped Ted finally open up. Knockoff Joachim helped Rebecca open up. So all those characters, I think they're the most valuable players of the episode.
See, I think obviously we've established that we both have thoroughly enjoyed this episode from start to finish, and it's been such a good episode, you know, just for pretty much every character that they focus on developed. Had some, it wasn't like we've had a couple episodes in this season where it's very much felt almost like a filler episode, like it's only there to push the story forward. Nothing's really been achieved. No like characters, you know, relationships or stories have been pushed forward.
There's been episodes where they're just sort of ticking boxes, I think.
Yeah. And this wasn't one of them. This actually, it felt, even though there was minimal football in it, like we had the match at the beginning, that is it. They're not in Richmond. We don't have any of the like other supporting cast like Nate, Rupert, Maeve, the guys from the pub, nothing like that. But it still just felt like such a vital episode for all of the characters involved.
Yeah.
Which is why crowning an MVP is so hard. But I will say that obviously I enjoyed like the Rebecca storyline. I really enjoyed the Ted and Jamie storyline. But I'm going to say that my MVP is Higgins.
Yes.
Because
like we said, he leads by example.
Yeah, and he took out I can't remember his name, the Kit man. Will, yeah. He took Will out because obviously Will wouldn't have been invited anywhere. Higgins took him out. Higgins showed him like a good time and like educated him on jazz.
Turning him into a man.
Yeah, and then Higgins Will pushed Higgins to go up on stage, and Higgins had this great experience. And I just love that. And I'm like, I love Higgins.
I love Higgins.
Because he just knew he had a plan, he went with it, and he had just a great night.
I love it. I love he's like wearing leather gloves the whole time as well. That's something like when he's going up to the red light district and he's putting his leather gloves on and he's like, yeah, we're going to turn Will into a man. I was like, fuck, where is this going?
Yeah.
On that note, that's all we have time for today on this week's episode of Ted Lasso post-match. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, give us your love. Give us your love. And Vinny,
give us your love.
any last
Share
words?
us. No.
Oh, well, that's good. We'll end there. See you next week, everybody.
See you next week.